that's basically so the race knows where you're going, where to find you. If you pack up all your stuff right now and move, he'll still find you unless you get the implant removed or disabled. There's another implant, and I have a theory. We haven't been able to prove it, obviously, but I think that there's an implant that the hybrids have, so that if they go to the doctor, they get their blood drawn for some kind of a disease or an illness, there's not going to be a deviation in DNA, or there's not going to be an anomaly in a blood test, because you would think, being a hybrid, that they would, have some kind of a medical deviation. So I would assume they probably have some kind of an implant to keep that deviated, or to keep that masked, some kind of a masking implant. So the tricky one and the interesting implant that we've dealt with is in the center of the brain, and it actually causes holograms. So we've had, cases where the client is seeing holograms all the time. They can't turn them off. There's not much you can do for that. What this hologram implant is doing is it's creating a channel for the race in question, because we don't really know what race that is that's using this implant, but it's creating a channel for information, uploads and downloads. And that's probably within the last, I can't remember. Do you remember what Keith said, Cole?
No, I'm sorry.
I believe they started that implant in the last 10 years. I'm grasping for straws here.
Yeah, no, that sounds right.
So when it comes to abduction and when it comes to implants, that's a relatively new one. Why? I don't know. I'm not sure what. I mean, certain people are getting uploads and downloads. I don't know what the purpose of that is. So y'all are quiet.
I don't know a lot about the implants, so it's kind of a hard subject for me to comment on.
So when you think about it, the reason for the tracker, we do the same thing with animals. We put trackers on elk to track migrations and things like that. So it's really no different. The only reason we pay attention is because clients are being terrified by abduction. And it's
could the implants also allow them to experience through, through like an avatar kind of experience?
Well, I think that's essentially what this hologram one is.
Oh.
That's the purpose of it. But again, I can't remember exactly which race is doing that one. It's relatively new, and we've only encountered 2 clients that were experiencing this. It's in the center of the brain, so it's not an area that we want to mess with. Because, astrally, we can disable the implant. It's basically coming in astral. Once Megan finds the implant, she can basically do like a burst of energy on it and disable it. And that's when the aliens come down and say, what the heck's going on? And that's where, either you go to combat with them and stop the abduction, which we have.
For the hybrid test manipulation implant?
Say again?
Do you think the test manipulation implant on hybrid children or hybrid kids is the same? Is in the same location, like in the brain?
I don't know. That we haven't learned. This is relatively new. within the last year and a half. So with that, we haven't explored that a whole lot because the specific cases where we were dealing with that, we didn't deal with the children. We were dealing with the parents.
But it's the family, though, isn't it? I mean, it's not just. Isn't it if you have an alien interaction, it's going to be the whole family and not just one person?
Right.
Or is
right.
that not true?
Well, with most of that's one of the questions we ask the abductees that we deal with is, did your parents ever describe being taken or seeing UFOs? Or did your grandparents ever describe being taken or seeing UFOs? Because it's generally generational. It can go every generation. It quite often skips a generation. That's why we always ask about the grandparents as well as the parents. And that's to check for DNA manipulation or DNA or genetic changes is what we what we think they're doing. These are the scientists. So you got different levels or different types of abduction. You've got some races that are scientists. That's what they do. They're watching the human race. They're watching genetic changes. They're watching things of that nature. You got the social scientists. These are the abductees that describe being taken up, and they're being forced to watch a TV screen. And on the TV screen, they're being shown something peaceful, a peaceful meadow. They're being shown nuclear war. And all the while that they're watching these TV screens, they're being what's called mind scan performed on them. And that's where the alien is actually face to face with them and looking them eye to eye, and they're watching their emotions. So we call them the social experiments, or social scientists. Then, of course, you got the gray hybrid program, which I already went into. That's where they, back in the 90s, they were abducting women and men. They're taking semen from men, and they're injecting or implanting the women with fetuses. And that was to essentially create hybrids. And then, of course, you've got there's a couple races out there that abduct because they think we're chicken, and they eat us. And these abductees, they just don't come back, obviously. Those are rare.
Midnight snackers.
Yeah, I will say those are rare. Not to scare anybody. We also have aliens that live here in the mountains. They do the same thing, some of them. And again, those people just don't
in the
come back.
Cascades?
Say again? Oh, yeah.
In the Cascades?
Yeah, we have one race I know of that lives up here.
Has anyone noticed how most quote-unquote alien sightings or that we hear about are in higher places in society, like the news people or newscasters or bodyguards of the president or scientists or celebrities like that?
I don't believe the media. Don't watch the news, Haley.
I'm not watching the media. It's just like if I read a lot of books, and that's just what I'm getting from it is like supposable theories that they're being placed in higher places in society so that they're able to, I guess you could say, rule it.
Like the Queen of England's a reptilian? No, I don't buy into that.
No, but I think Men in Black got it right when they said Dennis Rodman is an alien. Come on. That.
Keith Richards.
It's kind of like what you had said, Eric, the scientists, most aliens being scientists, like that, but they're being placed higher in society so they're able to watch us better or, well, I guess you can say manipulate or
control.
And see what we would think of it. Yeah, control.
Well, I think it depends on the race because there's thousands of races out there. So there's no telling. There really is no telling. But is the Queen of England eating children? I don't think so.
Well,
you know, and most of that is tabloid. It comes from the tabloids, and of course, like if you watch the Men in Black, well, the tabloids are the real news.
I'm just saying I
So-
wouldn't put it past Henry VIII.
So you said Men in Black. That makes me think of, like, do you think that children can be evil? Like,
You know what? I think yes, they can. I think a lot of that has to do with past life. I don't. You know.
But-
What do you? Yeah.
You've always said that FMP will respond very quickly to pregnant women. And why is that?
Good question, Chris. So with pregnant women, and yes, we do get asked why. So within FMP, we have tiers. So and that's basically if I get 3-4 cases at a time that just come in all at once, I have a protocol. Triage. There we go. It's late. So triage is French for sorting, and I took it from the medical field in the Army. So with sorting, with triage, you have certain levels that you put your casualties, from most severe to a Band-Aid, basically. So I took that same protocol and used it within FMP. So the top 2 tiers are children and pregnant women. Pregnant women because, well, you're already under stress being pregnant. So you don't need a paranormal issue compounding that. That's one reason. Second reason is there are entities out there that are basically soul suckers. They are there to take souls. And so they will attempt to take a fetus's soul.
Which could make them evil at birth.
No, because you take the soul, they die.
No, but I think that couldn't there be attachments that are evil? I believe that.
There could be if there was an attachment, but I'll use an example. And the reason this particular situation is the reason I put pregnant women at the top tier. When I was stationed in Stuttgart, I was known as the one to go to, and I'm a buck private. This is what threw me into the paranormal. One reason, and I've never told this story. But y'all heard about my crystal that I always carried. I was knocked out of my shoes at 90 miles an hour and flew through the air and was told I was never going to walk again. Probably should be dead, but I'm walking just fine today. And my buddies that watched me fly through the air saw a flash of light come out of my pocket. And the only thing that was on me was my crystal that was in my pocket. So, with that being said, my buddies all went to Desert Storm. And one of my buddies said, I need you to check in on my girlfriend every once in a while, make sure everything's okay. I said, okay. I went down one night. I was at the bar, came back. She was sitting in front of my barracks. And she said, I'm freaked out. And I don't know what to do. I've got something going on in my house. And she had a spirit. And it started out just rocking the chair in the corner of her bedroom. They would move the garbage can across the kitchen. I called a buddy of mine, and I said, what do I do? I ain't never experienced this before. This is before FMP. This is back in 1990. I was very unfamiliar with the paranormal. And she was pregnant. Well, we couldn't get to this entity in time, and She miscarried.